All right, class, let's get started. Now, if you're aiming to lead a business, you've probably been buried in frameworks, everything from SWOT analysis to the BCG matrix. But here's the thing, underneath all of those complex models, there's one single foundational economic principle. Today, we're not just going to review it, we are going to put it under the microscope. We're going to treat this concept as the absolute bedrock of all strategic thinking, and that is the inescapable, unavoidable reality of the trade-off.
You've all heard this phrase, right? Milton Friedman made it famous, but we hear it all the time, just thrown around in conversation. In the world of managerial economics, this is not just some folksy saying, it's an axiom. It is the solid ground upon which every decision, value creation, and yes, value destruction is built. Every single choice, every dollar of capital you allocate, every person you hire, every product you launch, it is all governed by this one unyielding law.
Now, when I say cost, I need to be really clear. We are not just talking about what you see on an expense report. The real cost, the one that separates a day-to-day manager from a true strategist, is the opportunity cost. It's the value of the next best thing you gave up, the thing you can never get back. You see, great leadership isn't just about seeing what you're doing right now. It's about having the incredible discipline to see and to actually put a number on what you are actively choosing not to do.
Okay, so let's nail down our working definition here. This is the theoretical lens we're going to apply to all the real-world cases that are coming up. Think of this part as learning the laws of physics before we start trying to engineer a bridge.
I absolutely love this phrase, the friction of decision-making. It's just a brilliant way to describe it. And what creates that friction? Scarcity. It's that simple. You have a finite amount of money, a finite number of hours your engineers can work, and believe it or not, a finite amount of goodwill for your brand. You can't spend the same dollar twice. In an economics class, we draw this out as a production possibility frontier. You know, that curve showing the maximum you can produce of two different things. If you want more of one, you have to slide along that curve and accept less of the other. Now, a manager's job isn't just to be efficient and operate on the curve. A great manager's job is to pick the exact right point on that curve that gives them a winning edge in the long run.
So let's take this theory and apply it. Our first area, the market itself. These are the big choices, the ones that define who you are as a company. This is where you decide which battles you're going to fight, and just as important, which ones you're going to let your competitors have.
This question might seem simple, but it gets to the heart of one of the biggest choices in business strategy, something the great Michael Porter wrote about extensively. Are you going to be a differentiator, creating something so unique and valuable that you can charge a premium for it? Or are you going to be a cost leader, trying to be the most efficient, lowest cost option for everybody? Trying to do both? Well, Porter had a name for that. He called it being stuck in the middle. And let me tell you, that is a recipe for absolute failure. You have to choose.
Oh, the Venice example. It's a perfect, if painful, case study. Let's put on our hats as the city's economic manager. The cruise ships, they offer a very clear, easy-to-measure benefit, right? Millions in fees, tourist spending, jobs. That's the more tourist side of the ledger. But the cost, this idea of less tranquility, it seems fuzzy, but it's not. It translates into real, tangible economic loss. The overcrowding destroys the Venice brand, which makes a city less attractive to the high-spending tourists who stay for a week. This is what we call a negative externality. Over time, that decay in your brand equity can actually become more costly than all the short-term cash you're getting from the high-volume, low-spending crowds.
So how do you even start to figure this out? This isn't about gut feeling. You have to build a model. You'd have to calculate the lifetime value of different types of tourists. You know, a cruise passenger might spend 100 euros in a few hours and never come back. A guest at a hotel might spend 2,000 euros over a few days, fall in love with the city, and return for years. The tricky part is that by welcoming more of the first group, you're actively pushing away the second. The hard work of management is building the financial model that actually accounts for that brand damage, that gives you a clear-eyed look at the net present value of one strategy versus the other.
Okay, let's look at another market choice. Imagine you're building a luxury resort. You are making a bet on high margins. The economic theory here is all about the price elasticity of demand. Think about it. The customer for a Four Seasons is pretty price inelastic. A 10% price hike isn't going to make them blink. But the backpacker market, it's incredibly price elastic. A 10% price hike might mean you lose almost all of them. So, by setting that high price, you're making a very deliberate trade-off. You're giving up the massive volume of the mainstream market, that's market share, to squeeze the maximum profit out of every single customer. That's your margin.
And this, right here, this is the insight that every strategist has to burn into their brain. Strategy is the art of sacrifice.
By choosing to be a luxury brand like Four Seasons, you are explicitly choosing not to compete with Marriott or Holiday Inn. You are designing your entire operation, from the thread count on your sheets to your staff-to-guest ratio, in a way that is completely incompatible with serving the budget traveler. This deliberate exclusion is what creates clarity. It's what builds a defensible competitive advantage, because a truly strong strategy is just a whole set of trade-offs that are really, really hard for anyone else to copy.
Okay, so let's shift gears. We've talked about the more abstract ideas of market position. Now let's get into the hard physical realities of resource allocation. We're talking about buildings, land, infrastructure, big, expensive decisions that are often impossible to undo and will have consequences for decades to come. The Tanjung Lesung Marina project is a textbook capital budgeting problem, but with a huge environmental cost attached. I mean, the financial model for the marina itself is pretty straightforward, right? You project the cash you'll get from boat slips, fuel, shops, and you discount it back to today. That's your more development number. But how in the world do you put a dollar value on a pristine coastline lost? Well, economists actually have ways to try. There are techniques like contingent valuation, where you literally survey people and ask what they would pay to protect it. Or you can calculate the economic value of what the ecosystem provides for free, like supporting fisheries or protecting against storms. A responsible manager has to at least try to quantify this loss and plug it into the analysis.
This slide really boils it down, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the zero-sum nature of this specific decision. You simply cannot have a healthy, thriving coral reef in the exact same spot as a deep-water marina. It's one or the other. To create one, you must destroy the other. The manager's job is to look that stark reality right in the eye and make a choice. And then they have to justify it not just with a pretty spreadsheet for the marina, but with a full accounting of the value, both seen and unseen, that is being sacrificed forever.
So let's scale this problem up to a giant 500-room resort. Now, this isn't just about money versus the environment anymore. This is a deeply complex stakeholder management problem. On one side, you have your shareholders demanding a return on their investment, and the local government desperate for the tax dollars and the jobs. That's a clear, quantifiable economic good. But on the other side, you have the immense strain on shared resources: the water supply, the power grid, the landfill. This creates a direct conflict between the shareholders, who get most of the benefits, and the wider community, which has to live with many of the long-term costs.
This is a question of what we call intertemporal choice, choosing between the present and the future, and it gets to the heart of sustainability. Now, a manager could try to quantify this by applying a discount rate to those future environmental costs. But what's the right rate? Think about it. A high discount rate makes future costs seem small, which makes the project look great. A low rate gives more weight to the long-term damage. The choice of that one little number in a spreadsheet can literally decide the fate of an entire ecosystem. The modern way to think about this is moving toward a triple bottom line, where you measure success not just by profit, but also by your impact on people and the planet. And your job as a manager is to somehow weigh all three of these often competing metrics.
So we've walked through trade-offs in the market and trade-offs in how we use our resources. Let's pull this all together. Let's synthesize this into a single, coherent philosophy of management. What is the ultimate lesson here for any leader?
This is the absolute truth of it. You know, inexperienced managers, they're always looking for the magical win-win solution that lets them avoid any tough decisions. They want higher quality and a lower cost. They want to appeal to everyone and have a premium brand. But real strategic management is the exact opposite of that. It is the art of figuring out the most important trade-off in your industry, and then organizing your entire company to win decisively on one side of it. The goal isn't to get rid of sacrifice. The goal is to make your sacrifices on purpose, deliberately, and all in the service of a single clear vision.
I'm going to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. A strategy is not a wish list. It is a set of hard choices. So the next time you're in a planning meeting, don't just ask what you're going to do. Ask yourselves what you are going to stop doing. Ask which customers you are willing to let go. Ask which metric you are willing to sacrifice in order to maximize another one. Because your answer to that question, what you are truly willing to trade away, that's the clearest, most honest definition of your strategy you will ever find.